Today on LGBT Healthcare and Me.
What are your family members, friends, and yourselves saying about getting vaccinated?
We get a special window into the souls of our family members, neighbors, and friends.
Hi Todd, I'm Ramona Rachel, and I am the festival events coordinator for Twin Cities Pride. Basically, I'm the person that coordinates all of the vendors in the park. We are so excited. First of all, the festival is back.
We learned just a little bit more about ourselves and each other.
We're asking the question this morning, what's good about being gay?
We have more freedom. We have creative freedom, I find. And I think and it's also been said to be a blessing.
Thank you so much for joining us for the very first episode of LGBT Healthcare and Me, a presentation sponsored by Minnesota Department of Health and supported by Twin Cities Radio Network. I'm Todd Michael Barnes. Now, during our time together, we'll explore the LGBTQ issues of the day and report on community, national, and international LGBTQ news. We'll empower each other, develop new narratives, and hopefully become healthier along the way. Today we bring you the latest information on vaccine coverage among LGBTQIA+ communities. And we go out into the community to ask how LGBTQIA persons are faring during COVID-19. But that's not the only question we cover today. We finally ask questions many of us have, but don't ask out loud. Just what do all these letters mean? LGBTQIA. Well, in this space today, we become educated on different gender identities and respectfully explore the different sexual orientation definitions, inclinations, preferences, tendencies, and decisions with you. In addition to you, these are the cherished special friends who will join me each episode as the Pink Power Panel to provide insight and analysis, help boost us up, and talk about ways to lead our lives in more fabulous, fit, and fruitful ways. We begin today with important health-related news. The numbers tell us LGBT people of color are twice as likely as white non-LGBT people to test positive for COVID-19. Now, during the past year, a whopping 15% of LGBT people of color tested positive for COVID-19. A little less than half, or 7%, of non-LGBT white adults tested positive. Now, LGBT persons of color were over twice as likely as well to be laid off or temporarily furloughed from work when compared to non-LGBT white adults. Now, the pandemic has not only hit LGBT persons in the pocketbook, it's also affected the amount of food we're able to put on the table, with almost a quarter of LGBT persons reporting having difficulty paying for basic household goods. And finally, perhaps the most dramatic difference between LGBT and non-LGBT adults is that while 40% of non-LGBT respondents indicated that pharmaceutical companies have their best interest in mind, only 28% of LGBT respondents reported the same. For information on where you or a loved one can get the COVID-19 vaccine, visit the Vaccine Connector at the website listed below.
Hi Todd, I'm Ramona Rachel, and I am the festival events coordinator for Twin Cities Pride. I've been with Pride for about 4 years. I think it's 4. Yeah, started in 2017. And basically, I'm the person that coordinates all of the vendors in the park.
Tell us this year's dates of the festival and what's going to happen.
Yeah, so this year, like I said, we're back in the park. We're July 17th and 18th. So mark your calendars. That's July, not June. July 17th and 18th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Loring Park. For more information, you can visit our website at tcpride.org. Just want to let people know that it's going to be a little different than what you're used to. We have about 400 vendors in the park, 4 stages. We normally bring in national talent. This year it's going to be a little scaled back, so please be prepared for that. We have taken into consideration that there's still people that are dealing with fears of the pandemic, so we will have safety measures in place. Yes, so this year's theme is simply You Belong. We know that everybody we're all community. Everybody's community, and at the festival we see just as many straight folks as we do queer folks, and so everybody belongs. Everybody's welcome. Everybody, no matter what your race, your nationality, your sexual orientation, whatever it is, everybody's welcome. So that's our theme, is You Belong. As a matter of fact, we have yard signs that you can purchase, that you can, as a fundraiser, because we have to, after 2020, we took everybody struggled within business, so we're trying to do fundraisers, and the festival is our largest fundraiser. But you can purchase a sign. You can go to our website and you'll be able to purchase a yard sign.
Beautiful. And tell us the website again.
It is tcpride.org. That's TC, like Twin Cities, pride.org. tcpride.org.
And what is your favorite food at the festival each year?
Oh my goodness. I like them all, to be truthfully honest. But if I had to pick, I love cookies. So State Fair has Martha's cookies. We've got Grandma's cookies. Steve and them guys, they come from out of state. Did you know that we have vendors come from everywhere? From New York to Florida to California to Washington. They come from all over.
Tell us about Family Fun Day.
Okay, so as a matter of fact, like I said, I'm a year-round employee, and so I do more than just the festival. We also have events throughout the year, but leading up to Pride and the entire month of June, we have our Family Fun Day, which is held at the Como Park Conservatory. That will be on June 20th. That's Father's Day, but it'll be on June 20th. And then we have our Mass Queer Raid. Yeah, that's Mass Queer Raid Grand Marshal event that's coming up on June 27th. We also have our Rainbow Run. So for all the list of all of our wonderful events, you can check us out on Facebook, but you can also visit our website. And again, the website is tcpride.org. That's tcpride.org.
This week we also hit the streets to check out just how COVID-19 is affecting Twin Cities LGBTQ persons and what it is we're doing about getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
So I work for Disney Cruise Line. I work on a cruise ship. I manage all of the performers on board, wear a Navy uniform and everything. And I am stuck in Minnesota at the moment. Wow. My family's here. I'm from here. Just have been on furlough for over a year. Just hanging out, as obviously our industry has been shut down due to COVID.
Did you get vaccinated? If so, yes?
I did, yes. Yeah. So currently I'm working in HR at Target over in Richfield in the store. And so obviously being an essential worker, the vaccine became available, and I was like right there as soon as it was, ready to make it happen.
Have you been vaccinated? Tell us why or why not.
I've had my first vaccination. I got the Moderna vaccination. I am actually currently waiting to find a location to get my second one through my work. The reason why I got my vaccination in the first place was because, for me personally, I trust the CDC. And not only that, but I have a history of working for healthcare organizations and working in the medical field. I worked for an assisted living facility. I worked for an assisted living facility for a while, for the last 4 or 5 months last year. Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is we had a lot of people that were falling ill to COVID, and unfortunately they passed away. And so it was important for me, as well as important for me, to be around other people to be able to have access to that vaccination. Not only that, but living with a mother who's getting on in years, it's important for me to not only protect her, but to protect other people that she might come in contact with.
So COVID was hard for me. I am the CEO of Bad Karma Enterprises. I've been running my own business for the last 3 years, and COVID completely changed my life upside down. I was not able to be a full-time entertainer anymore, and that was hard. I had to readjust a lot, but the thing that's kept me going and kept me positive is knowing that I still am healthy, I still am young, and I still have all the same passion and drive that I had before COVID happened. So really, it's just another step in the path of life that I'm taking right now. It's been hard, but I spent, there's too much time spent on Earth not focusing on the positive. And really, you just keep that energy up by remembering to be positive.
And just to celebrate the sunshine and each other, we asked LGBTQ persons in the Twin Cities, what's the good thing about being gay or LGBTQIA?
I grew up in a very Christian household, but one of the things that was amazing about it is that my father believed that God is love, and that love overall, over anything, is the most important thing that you can have in your life. And it doesn't matter who you love or why you love them, as long as it's happy, it's healthy, it's holistic, that it has to come from a pure source. And so I grew up in that type of environment, and I learned that I didn't need to use a label to define who I am. And I realized because I didn't have to define who I am, I didn't need to define the people that I met. I just met them and got involved with them, learned about who they are just for who they are. I didn't care if you were gay, straight, poly, whatever you were, that didn't matter to me. All that mattered to me is that you were another human being that deserved to be loved, that deserved to be treated with respect, humanity, and understanding. And that was the only way. And then to have conversation. That was also the most important piece, to have conversation so you learn about the other person's story, because their story is truth, their story is reality, and their story is beautiful. And so I just operate out of that for myself and everyone that I meet on a daily basis.
Can you tell us what's good about being gay?
I mean, it's just being able to just feel comfortable being yourself and being fabulous. I firmly believe in just spreading joy every day, leaving everything a little more fabulous than the way I found it, and just trying to really be true to myself and show the world that there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I am who I am, and that makes me amazing.
What's good about being LGBTQIA?
I think the best thing about it is being able to be open about it and not having shame for being who you are. The best thing about it is being allowed to live freely and live authentically. Being able to go through life without being seen as any different. I mean, there are bits and pieces to everybody that makes us all different, but there's nothing there's nothing abhorrent, there's nothing wrong with, loving differently or being a little bit different when it comes to the identity aspect.
I think it's important for people to know that it doesn't matter what you came from, what your past is, what your experience is. You can be anything or anybody that you want to be, as long as you don't let yourself be victim of your circumstance. And it's important for people to know that and embrace that fully.
We talked with the Minnesota Department of Health official who shared why it's important for LGBTQ persons to continue to take precautions, stay safe, and get the COVID-19 vaccine. Good morning, Maddie, from the Minnesota Department of Health.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today, actually. How are you?
I'm really well, and I'm especially well because you've agreed to join us just for a few moments to talk about what LGBTQ persons can continue to do to stay safe during COVID-19.
Yep. Yeah. Glad to be here. Just a little bit about me. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I identify as agender and queer. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. And another one of my roles at MDH is working with the LGBTQ community around the COVID-19 response, making sure our needs are being met when I can make that happen, and providing resources to the community.
Can you tell us why LGBTQ persons and others should get the vaccine?
So I think one of the best ways to talk about the vaccine is just for me to present information to everyone, and then you can make a decision for yourself about whether this feels like the right choice for your health. So some basic information for everyone to know. The vaccines were brought through the whole process of getting a vaccine in the same way as normal vaccines that we're getting outside of the pandemic. It's just that instead of having to fundraise and really like have challenges with recruitment because of the urgency of the pandemic, the federal government actually just dumped a bunch of money into the safety study process, so they really could jumpstart it. But all of the steps that were taken with any other vaccine are being taken and were taken with the current and future vaccines that are being developed for the COVID-19 virus. Just so everyone is up to date, the governor has recently lifted a few requirements, including for the masking requirements. One of the biggest motivators for me is that I have a lot of people in my life who are really at risk for COVID-19. And I think particularly for LGBTQ community, it's really important that we look out for each other because not everybody is. And so I thought it was really important that I do what I could to protect my community, especially considering LGBTQ folks are more likely to be in those frontline employment jobs. So they're more likely to be in healthcare. They're more likely to be in the service industry. So either restaurants or retail. And those are folks that really don't have a choice with their job and being in the public interacting with everyday folks. And so because there's that greater risk there, I felt like it was my responsibility to them, because I have the advantage and privilege of being able to distance and stay home for my work, but I know that they can't, and we really do rely on their important work.
Great. What is good about being LGBTQIA?
We are such a creative and interesting bunch. I love how unique people are, how we are so authentically us. We're not following a script of what we should look like or how we should act. And so I just think there's such a flourishing, creative environment in the LGBTQ community. I've seen us really show up for each other through this really, really challenging time. And it warms my heart to see just how invested everyone is in each other's wellness.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing ways in which we can keep ourselves safe, and especially sharing pieces of your heart this morning. So appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
For information where you or a loved one can get the COVID-19 vaccine, visit the Vaccine Connector at the website listed below. Now stay with us, our Pink Power panel is next. And of course, as always at ENN, no groupthink allowed. In decades and centuries gone by, persons were assigned either one or two gender categories at birth, male or female. Today, it's reported there are 64 terms that describe gender identity and expression. And for much of history, persons were defined as either gay or straight. But in year 2021, by the way, no pun intended, there's bi-curious, bi-romantic, bisexual. Those are just 3 of the 46 terms that describe sexual attraction and sexual orientation. Now, if you don't like the B's, well, we got the D's for you then, demisexual or demi-romantic. Well, there's fluid, or there's libidoist asexual. These are just some of the sexual orientation terms being used today, wrapped up in the letters LGBTQIA. Whom we are affects how healthy we are, how safe we are, the neighborhood in which we live, and how free we are. So, just who do we say we are? Here to provide insight and analysis on the LGBTQ issues of the day and all things LGBTQIA is our Pink Power Panel. And we are very excited to hear what our panelists have to say. First of all, welcome to our panel members. Great to see you. We're going to talk about, again, gender identity and sexual orientation, but we want to talk, first of all, today about the most pressing health-related topic that still is before us. Of course, that is the pandemic. And I want to know, what are your family members, friends, and yourselves saying about getting vaccinated?
Personally, am fully vaccinated. It's been about a month and a half since I received my last dose of the vaccination. My family is mixed. Not everybody is trusting of the vaccine given the history with medicine and people of color. My sister is definitely a no on the vaccine right now. I am trying to push her and persuade her, but people make their own decisions. And eventually, if she chooses to, I'm going to be there to support her. I have to be there to support her in her no as well, because that's somebody that I love and care about. She doesn't see it the way that I do right now. And so
I'm feeling like vaccination is getting most important at this point right now, because I want to go see my son. My son stays in different states. I want to travel. I want to be able to catch a plane. And at first, I was totally against it. I'm like, I do not want to do this. I don't know what's going to do to my body. Being that I have medical risk as it is, I didn't want to test these waters because I wasn't sure what it do. But I find it to be important because, there's things I want to do outside of that. There's so many different things I want to do, and you're going to need to have this vaccination to be able to get to it.
You literally look like you have sheer joy over being vaccinated. Is that
I'm happy about it.
I mean, and this is, again, from somebody, if we heard you correctly, who said you were leery about getting the vaccine earlier.
Yes.
And now this much joy. What do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to being able to go see my grandmother. My great-grandmother is 90 years old. And so for me, I want to go spend some time. I want to record with her so I can have these memories for myself later. If I would deny myself that if I didn't get this vaccine, I wouldn't be able to see my son on his 18th birthday in July coming up for celebrating being done with payments and helping him get a car. But at the same time, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't do that. So.
Well, thank you for sharing some of that joy with us today. Joe, how about you? What are you seeing out there?
I didn't hesitate to get the vaccine. When my job said they had secured some COVID-19 vaccines, I was all for it. I feel like everyone in my family was all for it. I just want to do my part. I followed the news somewhat closely about these vaccines. I got the Pfizer vaccine and I felt safe. I had very little side effects. And I'm trusting of the medical experts' opinions on vaccinations for myself, for everybody. I hope that Minnesota reaches that 70% threshold and we can go everywhere without masks.
And you said really, really important words. You said, I'm trusting. And you said, I trust, and I'm paraphrasing now, but really the medical professionals who are recommending taking the vaccine. Yeah. What do you attribute that trust to? And has that trust always been there for you? And do you think that's cultural or in your family?
Yeah. I've never had a reason to mistrust a medical professional in my life. And I attribute that to, probably the privilege I have. I don't know what else to say. Whenever I've needed any medical care, I've gone to the doctor. I've had little to no barriers ever in my life. And I don't not trust the doctor. If they tell me to do something, I do it. They recommend a shot, I take it. They prescribe me something, I take it. I've never gone against that sort of advice from a medical professional when they say this is what you should do. That hasn't been true in all aspects of my life. However, when a doctor is right in front of me and saying this is what you need to do, I've just done it.
Well, there have been people, and there are people in our lives who do reject the advice and recommendations of medical professionals. How do you all deal with folks who have different opinions than you on vaccines? And what is the best argument, since I think all four of us are vaccinated, but what's the best argument that you might have either heard or advanced in terms of trying to convince folks that they should get the COVID-19 vaccine?
For me, telling somebody that I love, I don't want to see you die over this. People are dying. It's a real thing. If you can get the vaccine, please do get the vaccine.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the people that you love. I mean, the older people that you love, to keep them safe. That's, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for the people that you care about.
No longer, of course, is it just, are you gay or are you straight? We seem to now have 64 different definitions of sexual attraction and sexual orientation. In terms of course, my first question's always going to be in terms of your own lives. What's your own experience been around gender identity first? And have you had that in your life as something that's been something decided for you or a choice?
I grew up very hetero. Men and women were in relationships, and those were the models and examples that I seen set before me in my own home, on TV, anywhere that I looked. I think that anything else that was not hetero was greeted with some type of shaming, marks, words, gestures. And so for me, there was this mixed message because I was shaped to be who other people thought I should be, while suppressing who I naturally was. And so for me, it happened in a later stage, but I identify as gay now. That took a process. I was almost 30 by the time I had reached that for myself. I was into my mid-30s by the time I accepted that for myself. And so when I think about my own self, I think about my own expression, I think that it changes, and the way that I have identified myself isn't the same that I am now. I kind of relate it to my feelings. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, and the way that I express myself when I'm happy or when I'm sad changes over time. And so the way that people navigate their own sexual orientation, or however they choose to identify themselves, it is subject to change as well. And so for me, getting a better understanding of myself has given me the guide to be better understanding for other people.
Well, for me, I know that when I first, being a kid, I knew, I didn't know what I was. I just knew I was different. I knew I liked boys and I liked girls. But for me, my gender crisis was that I grew up in religion heavily. So it was only you was either straight or you was gay. There was no bisexual in between. So by the time I was a teenager, bisexual came out. It was like a fun term. We was all like, yes, we're all bisexual. Everybody wanted to embrace this term because they had these feelings. And so for me, I've always, loved girls. I always loved women. Still do, but I like masculine women, oddly enough, I've had a lot of girlfriends like that, and I've had a lot of male partners that I've had that they've been more feminine, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, it's been a rocky road, just trying to really understand myself. And then it's just, trying to explain it to other people, that feeling, I like masculine females and this like that. So everybody wants to say, no, you're pansexual. That's what that means. And it's like, well, what is that? So being older, I guess I want to say I'm about to be 42. I'm so used to those three things, and now adding this fourth in my mind. But then there's now to find out there's like 59 more to go, to learn about. So it's like, I think it's hard to kind of go into that transition sometimes for older people, because they're trying to understand, they're like, well, what is that? What does that really mean? When I first heard cisgendered, I was like, what is that? I'm like, I'm 40. My 13-year-old came to, I'm a cisgendered female. I'm like, what does that mean? So it's is a difficult thing to understand, but I just want people to just, think before you speak and respect the person that's in front of you. That's what's important. And a lot of people just want to see something and not understand it and just, and it's a joke. So to me, it's, I just find people should respect people no matter what it is, what they're wearing, how they're wearing it, how they're being. But that's just me. But that's my experience with that.
In terms of taking this discussion or these items as a joke, that you mentioned at least, there are several instances where it seems that there are individual irritations or a collective national eye roll when it comes to talking about gender identities or sexual orientation. How do we get beyond that individual irritation or that collective eye roll when we talk about 46 or 64?
Well, what I've learned is a lot of times when people come with me with these type of things and say, oh, and then they try to use the Bible, I have scriptures in the Bible I can point right to them and shows them that Jesus said not to even, if you can't accept it, let them be. And so, when it comes to certain identities, for me, I put that in place for that. If they choosing to deal with that, then let them be, because that's not what you're a part of, and you shouldn't be judging them for doing that. So to me, it's like there's ways of reading this book and understanding it to apply for everyone. But it always put people to reflect on themselves. Pay attention to you and what you're doing. Stop focusing on everybody else.
All right. And Joe, your experience with gender identity and how that's played out.
Yeah, I guess personally, I would describe myself as a cisgender gay male. I look at people like everybody is very unique and very different. And to describe oneself is freedom of their own expression. And I appreciate all of the different gender identities and sexual orientations for people to choose to be a part of. You can go through the list and someone can say, well, that's what I am. I am that. And it gives them that platform to tell people, well, I am allosexual, or I am pansexual, or I am asexual. I'm not attracted to anybody sexually, And I feel like that gives people another way to communicate with other people. Like, this is who I am. So if I know that person is blank sexuality, it kind of curtails the way I interact with them. Well, I know that they are into this and I am this, so I might not engage them a certain way. So for me, I love that people get to express themselves and feel comfortable sort of labeling themselves a certain thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think people should be judged for some of the lesser known sexualities or gender identities. I myself know a little bit about these identities, and I don't know a lot. And collectively, even as a country, the older generations don't want to hear it. They don't understand it. But I think the younger generations are really all about being unique, not being like the older generations, and ushering in a new, I don't even know what to call it, just a new, acceptance. Yeah, and accepting people for who they are, not who other people think they should be. And
what I
really
like about what
that.
you're saying, it sounds like, is that you're really approaching it from a completely positive perspective in terms of having value added or more ways in which to be able to see people and recognize who people really are.
Yep.
I know oftentimes now in certain environments and in certain meetings, often the meetings are started out with people who announce their gender pronouns, what gender pronouns they are. Do you think that's important, and why or why not?
I think it's important to just be able to I think it gives a person a chance to honestly know if I should say him or her, and they're talking about them in a sentence. So it stops forms of feelings of disrespect when person may not be really trying to, but it gives you a heads up so that you kind of have an idea of what to say. Because I even have that same problem with my cousin Yaga. She's, what do you call it, like a stud. And so with her being a stud, she still likes to be called her. So and she's okay with that. So like for me, I do know that that's most likely why. It's the kind of prefix type thing.
What about changing all pronouns just to they, and we're all just they?
Well, I think that it'd be weird because somebody might feel solid in they her or him, so everybody being a they would be, then they got to accept something else. But I don't know.
So there really is no catch-all term that's going to work for everyone, and
Just
it really
their
is
name.
about everybody's
Just
choice,
their name.
personal choice and respect. And when all else fails, WOW says, call them by their name.
Right.
And that works. There's a novel concept. Well, one of the things that I want to know as we go into this springtime, to be able to keep this smile that has kind of occurred since the sun has been out, I'm just wanting to ask the general question, what's good about being gay?
I think for me, it is a claim to myself, to who I am. And as a person who has lived in the version of who people wanted me to be, it's liberating. So I trade in my cage for wings, and that's how it feels for me. So I get to take a lap in freedom by claiming my identity. I don't have to keep a secret anymore. I don't care if you know because I told you, so.
Well, I think if you ever write a book, we'd all like to take a lap in your book because you have a way with words. So Thank you. Beautiful. Others?
Well, for me, the good thing about it is I kind of feel like excited a little bit when I finally came out, telling my mom and my family. It was very liberating. I felt like I could just be myself, even though I did see little attitudes from different family members and things, but at the same time, I found that it was like a superpower. I was able to do so many different things that other people in my neighborhood wasn't able to do with just my career, with work in Chicago. I was able to do so much more, and it was like, how are you doing that? And how did you? I'm like, because of who I am. I can't help that, but at the same time, I also just really enjoy that it's like a freer way of living. It's less hang-ups about so many different other things. It's so many great things about it that, I would say the other half would never understand. I'll say it like that. It's the creativity, just everything. Because our creativity, we will walk around with just any old thing we want to wear and feel great. What if I better have on my suit or my t-shirt and jeans, So it's like we have more freedom. We have creative freedom, I find. And I think and it's also been said to be a blessing. So.
All right. We're asking the question this morning, what's good about being gay?
I feel like I don't have to play a role that was designed for me by other people. There's no standards for people who are gay. When we grow up, in the household I grew up in, people had roles, and I feel like I don't have to have a role. And I'm kind of weird. Some days I'm a little bit more this, I'm a little bit more that. And when people ask or say anything about it, people that know me are, they'll just be like, well, he's gay. And everyone's just like, oh, okay, well, it kind of just sums it up. And to me, that just makes it, I don't even know how to explain it. I'm okay with it. Yeah.
But you get to laugh, you get to have fun. The other guys, they got to, they can't really just have a good time like that. We really get to enjoy ourselves, I find.
I think it's a thought freedom, and I think, going around the panel, I think that's like the liberation, because Really, sometimes the war is in the head and the heart, you know, even if it's not on the surface or in front of people. We battle ourselves more than anything. And I think once we begin to truly accept who we are, then that's where the creativity flows, and that's where we step into our own rights.
He said, often the challenge comes in our heads and our hearts, but that if we accept ourselves anywhere within the 46 or the 64, it's better days to come. Well, thank you, panel, for joining us. Thank you for your courageous answers, for your honesty, and for your sharing of your wisdom, your insight, and even your laughs. A special thank you to our Pink Power panel. For information on where you can get the COVID-19 vaccine for yourself or a loved one, don't forget to visit the Vaccine Connector at the website address listed at the bottom of the screen. That concludes our inaugural edition of LGBT, Healthcare and Me. Thank you to the Minnesota Department of Health and Twin Cities Radio Network and you. Don't forget to visit us at www.equitynewsnetwork.com. We'll be back next week until our next episode, and until we meet again, it's my hope we dish up some respect and lean in towards love. For all of us at ENN, Todd Barnes.